It's time for the Bulletproof Estate Planning Hour with Stan Pierchoski.
Good morning.
Hey, buddy.
Good morning.
We've made it all the way to Friday
We did.
again. Made it to Friday again. Yes,
It's been a long week on my end. But,
yeah, it's been a busy week.
Sometimes it's quick, but sometimes it's even a little longer. But had lots going on. So
yeah, all right.
How are you?
I am doing well. Doing well. I told you about my knee issue, and I've talked about that already. But other than that, very well and very busy, which is good. Not complaining about that either. So anyway, life is rolling.
Yep. Well,
And
sometimes those aches and pains are hard to deal with.
life is. I was telling earlier that I watched a C.S. Lewis movie thing called the Reluctant Convert.
Huh.
It's him telling his life story. It's not really him, but it's an actor being him, telling his life story and his conversion and all that. It was really good.
Oh, okay.
Really good.
Cool.
I think you can find it on Prime Video. All right. So
Do you have when you watch things on Prime? Do you find it to be? I mean, kind of stutter a little bit and kind of have some pauses in it.
well, no, ours. We have fairly good internet service.
I don't know this. I'm not sure it's the internet. I got good internet too, but when I run Netflix or Hulu or something, it's pretty flawless.
Huh.
Every time I watch something on Prime, every single time it stutters, it drops for just a second or two, and it picks up the sound. I mean, it can't be the internet because all the other streaming services come in pretty good. So it's just
I haven't had any issues.
Just wondered. Maybe you got a spring for the part that doesn't go have the silly commercials in there.
Yeah, well, I didn't do that. I'm not going to pay extra. I'm already paid enough, so.
Yeah.
I can tolerate a commercial here and there.
Actually, I have Starlink where I'm at, and it's very.
Oh, you're at Starlink.
I also have PES. They've actually. I live very rural, but they've got it out there. It's on a pole onto my property, but about 350 feet from there to my house.
I'm using Cloud9 wireless at this point, but we just had fiber run up the road, and there's people that are offering fiber now.
Yeah.
But I don't have that yet, but I probably will at some point.
Right. Okay.
Interesting stuff. Yeah. Interesting stuff. Well, you got anything on your agenda, your specific you want to talk about today? Because I do have a question that was sent to me.
Hang on to the question.
I'll hang on to it.
We do have a seminar, and it is tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it is right here at the WDXE radio station, 10 o'clock in the morning in the back of the building.
That's tomorrow.
Yeah, that's tomorrow, the 28th.
Yes. So
Your
tomorrow.
clock's an hour off, but it also shows the date, and today's 27th, so I guess that makes it tomorrow. Saturday at 10 o'clock in the back of the building here, or toward the other end of the building where the radio station's at.
Right.
And we call that seminar Wills, Trusts, and the Nursing Home. I was going to go over a little bit, kind of the overview process of that. And if somebody's interested in trust, I'd like to kind of lay out what that looks like, what the time factor is involved on their end, and stuff like that. And, we're going to do that, and that's what we talk about. When you get to the seminar, we're going to kind of review a will and a trust. Okay, like what is the last will and testament? What is a trust? What are the differences between the two? What problems does the trust solve that the will does not? Stuff like that. And I do that for a reason. I do that little review because what people are there to hear about is the solution to long-term care.
Yeah.
Okay? And the solution to long-term care is a trust. And so I want to do a little review of a will versus trust. So if you've not been exposed to what a trust is, you get a little exposure.
Yeah.
I do have a YouTube somewhere on my site. You can call it. The girls can send you where it is. But I have one that's more of a deep dive. I think it's actually called Will versus Trust.
Yeah.
But it doesn't get into the asset protection for protecting against long-term care. But,
right.
So I review that briefly. Then we kind of shift gears and move into this concept of Medicaid, and the service that pays for long-term care. And then we just start discuss certain things that put people there. How is it paid for? How much does it cost? And you'll find out that it costs a lot.
Yes.
Since it costs a lot, how can you prepare yourself for that kind of catastrophic cost if you end up in that situation, or a loved one ends up in that situation? So, if you want to come to it, just at this point, it'd be nice if you call and tell me how many folks are coming. But if you can't, don't worry about it. Just pop in. We always put up plenty of tables and chairs. We always make plenty of light refreshments and.
It's a real good meeting place.
You're all welcome, and yeah, it is. And you know, anybody's, we say welcome, walk-ins are welcome. There's usually always some folks that want to come that can't come at the last minute. You know how
Sure.
that stuff is. So, but yeah, we got plenty of room. So if you think you want to come, you know, if you hadn't been to one of my live seminars, you might want to consider it because we get a lot of really good reviews on them.
And there's absolutely no charge whatsoever.
No, it's not that. You know, we call it a free educational seminar. I kind of like to focus on the word educational, but it is at no cost. So
Very informative.
and it, you know, my goal is this. We talk to people a lot. A lot of people, we get all kinds of questions like, you know, I want, somebody say, I want to do a will. And I would say, great. Do you want to hear about other options? And it's like, I didn't know there were any other options than a will.
Yes.
Or what's a trust? I just thought rich people did trust. Or I don't have enough of an asset to do a trust. A lot of questions like that. So, you know, it dawned on me years ago that people need to be informed of the different options. Because, you know, how do you make, like, you've heard me say this a million times, how do you make a choice in any particular subject if you don't know what the options are?
Right,
Or if you,
exactly.
you only think there's one. And I'm convinced that that's what causes people to procrastinate. They don't know exactly what they can do.
Sure.
And if they can only think of one thing to do, it hesitate and you kind of don't want to pull the trigger. But once you know, what I find is when people come to the seminar and they learn about other options, there's always one of the things we do that they gravitate toward.
Yes.
Because it's different people have different needs and wants or family dynamics. And so they gravitate towards something. And then they're more willing to go ahead and do it. Because now they just feel like, okay, I've been exposed to the options. This is the one that fits my family the best.
Right.
And this is the one I want to do. And that's exactly how these seminars got born, really, you know, about 10 years ago. We just sort of, you know, I make it available for you to come and find out what all you can do if you're interested in doing it. And the folks that come to it are folks that have given estate planning some thought.
Yes.
Maybe put it off or something. You know, you don't get too many walk-ins off the street. Just say, hey, let's go. You know, so when the people arrive, they've already given it a little bit of thought.
Yeah.
And they're interested in the subject matter. And you know, I'm told that for so many people that it's a great seminar. It's very informative, and they learn things they never knew before, never even thought of, and they learn things that get them over the barriers and over the hurdles to go ahead and move forward. And then you're comfortable with your choice, and then, you know, so just what it kind of looks like as a time investment on your side.
Sure.
It's really not too much, just, you know, several hours, but spread out.
Yeah.
So you know, you come to the seminar. The presentation is about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. Just depends on how sidetracked I get when I'm giving it, which happens, you know.
Sure.
And then, you know, question and answer usually lasts a good 30 minutes to 45 minutes. If you want, and you don't even have to stick around for all that. But let's say you do. So you got 2 hours in the seminar.
Yeah.
And then if you decide you want to go forward, we have what is called a family vision meeting, which is about an hour-long meeting. And you set that up and you come and see me sometime after the seminar. We talking about what I talked about that caught your attention, and you want to talk about some more.
Sure.
We do a little more of a deeper dive about that particular trust, like whether you want a revocable living trust or the asset protection trust. They're both trusts, but they do work a little differently, and so we talk about that. You know, I have a workbook that I give you to fill out. If you set that up ahead of your family vision meeting, that might take you 15, 20 minutes. Let's say 30. You know, so. Then we have that vision meeting. So already we're 3.5 hours into it so far on your end. You know, 2 at the seminar, half an hour to fill out the book, another hour at the family vision meeting. Usually at the end of the family vision meeting, we've got all we need to I've already drilled down into your family dynamics. I know what you're looking for. We've already, then we'll set off a signing meeting, which is, you know, every bit of a month out after that meeting. And that has to do with my workload. It has nothing to do with you.
Sure.
And because I do my own drafting and stuff like that. So anyway, and then that signing, if it's a couple, we schedule an hour. If it's a single person, well, we schedule an hour, but it doesn't take as long. So
Sure.
you know, about 4 hours of investment over time. You know, and then at the end of it, you're done. You've got a trust plan. It's funded. Now, sometimes there may be some funding you have to do, but that goes pretty quick too. I'll put into these trusts for you everything I can put in for you. But if you have a bank account and you want to put it in the trust, I can't do that for you.
Yeah.
Because you got a contract with the bank, and I'm not a party on there, so I can't go to the bank and say, "Hey, I'd like to sign Jeff Hood's checking account into his revocable living trust," and they're going to say, "Sorry, you can't."
Can't do
They'll show
that.
me the door and say, "Only Jeff or Teresa can do that." Sorry,
Right.
but and so, but I give you the documentation that you need to do that, and it goes very smooth. All the banks have seen what we do go by at one time or another, and it's a very
Sure.
smooth process.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's not a big time investment, and if you're thinking about getting this done, you know, sometimes you really need to think about it, and this is a valid, almost business concept. And whenever you talk about doing something, or just like I'm talking about the time cost, the investment of time. Sometimes it's not focus on what's the cost of doing something. The better focus on, especially in some of the stuff I do, the better focus is the cost of not doing it.
Right, exactly.
And that can really be a determining factor.
And it could be a lot.
Because when you're dealing with long-term care, I mean, the cost of not being prepared, I mean, is nothing less than catastrophic, financially. Well, I mean, and I'm even touching on the emotional and the human in it, which is a ton of that too. I just don't get involved in it, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's so we, if you've been given any thought, because here's a question people say, they come in and sit down and I say, basically what is it you're looking for? You've heard what I had to say at the seminar. Where's your focus? And 9 out of 10 people say, I just want to set something up so the government doesn't get it.
Right, right.
Now, when they say that, what we're talking about is long-term care. The government who gets it in that scenario is the Tennessee Bureau of Care.
Sure.
They're the ones that can get after the property. The nursing home never takes anything from you. If you have too much money, they just make you private pay, or they won't take you. And then you go broke when you private pay.
Right.
But the nursing home always gets paid. It's just whether you're paying them privately or the TennCare is paying them.
Right.
So they always get paid, but they don't ever come and take anything.
Right.
So the people that actually take something from you is a TennCare. And a lot of times when I explain how that process works, it relieves people, and also they learn things that they just had no idea of is the way it worked. So anyway, speaking of long-term care, we got an approval that it was on the timeline of it was just starting to come onto my radar as being, wonder what the holdup on this one is. Kinda, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of came to the average time it get the approval, and we were a couple of weeks past, and I started to think, I just wonder what's wrong with this one. And I figured there was going to be something because we did some odd real estate juggling for this one.
Sure.
Well, they're probably hung up on what we did, don't understand it.
Right.
But I want to say, I think it was actually over the weekend last week. One of my team members, Courtney, got a hold of me and said we got the approval for that person, and it was like, so
hallelujah.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a red letter day. We can call the family and say, hey, remember I kept saying we'll get there?
Yeah, we got there.
We got there. And we got it. So, and everything worked out pretty much almost exactly the way we anticipated, so, which is good. That seems to happen a little more than when I first started doing that. Every case we do, case after case, we get the approval, it'd be just like we expected.
Yeah.
And it was almost too easy.
Yeah.
Then there was a period of time where, I don't know, I think maybe they shook up the management at TennCare or something, and it was starting to get a lot of denials or a lot of questions, a lot of, show us this, show us that, which didn't exist before. Now we're prepared to do that, and we show it, and we appeal, and we're successful with everything, but it was more pushback.
Sure.
And now I'm going to say in the last year, it seems like that pushback is starting to back off a little bit. So I don't know what drives it or what lets it go by. It's got to be management. But
sure.
I don't ever get involved with that. I do know that TennCare's got their own problems. I think they have an extremely high attrition rate because I don't think they've ever spoken to the same person twice.
Yeah.
Now, in the attorney part, in the legal end, yes, but on the caseworker end, it's always somebody, and it can be frustrating.
I guess there's a lot of movement in some of those state positions.
I guess, and when you get somebody, it's almost like, okay, well, let me just review what's been done because I'm new, and it's hard to. Yeah. It gets old.
Yeah.
But it's that's the way it's played. So So all right. So
this is the business we have chosen.
That's true. That's true. So I'll bring that up again. I'm doing another seminar. I think I mentioned in April. Now my seminars are every other month. Yeah. So I had one in January, right at the ice storm, or right afterward. We're having one tomorrow. My next one's not until May. However, I was invited by the Marshall County Public Library, that's Lewisburg, to come, and that's April the 25th. And that's a Saturday too. Yep. Now it's really, we worked it all out. I kind of told them, I said, well, I'm used to doing it on Saturday mornings at 10, and I said, can you do that at the library? And they said, sure, and they set it up. So it's going to be the same seminar, Wills, Trust in the Nursing Home, same day, Saturday, same time, 10 o'clock, on April the 25th. And the only difference is I'm not really sponsoring it, but it'd be just like going to one of mine. Sure. You know what I'm saying? So I told them I would be more than happy to put on whenever I do my radio stations that I'm doing that one as well. So if you're over that direction, or if you can't make it to the one in Lawrence County or the last one we had in Pulaski, Marshall County is just one more county over. It's not that big a deal.
Yep. Used to go there.
Although I will tell you, if you do come to the one in Marshall County in Lewisburg, and I want you to heed this because this is good advice from years going by. when you come in and the speed limit says 30 miles an hour, don't test them.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna use the word speed trap, but,
Let
me put it this way,
You
they
must be
sell-
talking about Cornersville.
yes, they zealously enforce that.
Yes, I have
So-
experienced that myself in years
They
past.
don't, please, take my word for it, because you might get lucky, but it won't happen many times, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, that is a place where you can definitely get pulled over. No-
And
no-
it goes from 40, then down to 30 or 25, and they mean it. I mean,
Yeah,
it used to be your cruise control wouldn't set that low,
yeah,
but now they do.
yeah.
When I get there, I'm telling you, I get down 25, I put cruise control on it. It just feels like I'm crawling.
It
I
does.
just let it do it. I get to the other end.
He's out of there.
And I'm an attorney. I have to have I'm bound to something called. I'm not even supposed to have the appearance of impropriety. So,
Right.
I'm not going to speed because I'm supposed to set an example.
That's
I'm
right.
an officer of the court. I'm subject to all the rules just like anybody else, and along with the fact that in a public setting, I'm not even to have the appearance of impropriety.
Right,
So,
exactly.
I do, and it's like I said, you feel like you're crawling. The guy behind you looks pretty anxious, but I was going through there one time.
You're helping him,
The guy
ain't
behind me was right on my tail, and you see him kind of move over to the left and over to the right, kind of like contemplating maybe passing me or something.
Yeah.
And then I get to the end, and it's like, I almost feel like I should stop the car and get out and say, you know what? I think you should just say thank you.
Yeah.
I saved you.
Just saved you a
from
big
the
ticket.
inevitable of what happened if you'd have gotten past me and gone whatever you would have done.
Exactly, exactly.
But anyway, that's over. That's gonna be the April 25th. I'll bring that up more after this
Sure.
one tomorrow. and stuff.
Sure.
So that leads us to you had a question if you hadn't forgotten it.
Well, this came from our friend who calls, and she brought this up the other day. If you have a copyright on something, or a patent or copyright, that I guess that technically is your possession. I guess I don't really know. If you own it,
I can expound on it.
if you own it, the question was, can that be placed in a trust? Can a copyright or a what else? My trade
Patent.
patent. That's what
Patents, trademarks, and copy.
yeah,
Patent,
all of
trademarks,
that.
and copyright.
Can any of that be placed in a trust?
The answer is yes, because you do have ownership. Now, when you have a trust, here's a good one. When you ask the question, can something or other be placed into a trust? The answer is, you can put into a trust anything that you own or have an ownership interest in.
Okay.
What you can't put in trust is something like income. You don't own income until you get the check.
Right, right.
Life insurance is a death benefit, right?
Yes.
You don't own that death benefit. You have to die for somebody to get it. You have no ownership in that, so you can't put those things into a trust because you don't own it. But when you have a patent, and I'm a patent attorney, I actually got my patent license after.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. I don't do much of it, but when I got my law license in 2002, the very next year I went and got passed the patent bar.
Okay.
And to be a patent attorney, you have to have a scientific background kind of thing, and I have that with my engineering and stuff.
Sure.
And it seemed like a logical thing to do, and so I did it. But it never really, I did it a little bit of it, but it was just so far and few between, and there was a lot of insurance associated with it. And I just sort of let it fall by the wayside because
Sure.
it just wasn't popular around here. Now I'm more towards Nashville, a little more copyright stuff, stuff like
Right.
that. But what's interesting though, the patent bar is extremely difficult. Okay, and they give you study materials, and you can even study old tests and stuff like that. I mean, that helps, but maybe not a whole lot. But you think, these old tests, they don't use the same question. They may use the same concept.
Yeah.
Which is smart of them because now you got to memorize the concept, which is what you're supposed to know anyway.
Right,
It's
exactly.
not just the answer to the question.
Right.
But just to give you an idea, I was surprised. I got there. I had to go to Memphis to do it. So I went to
Okay.
Memphis, got in a hotel, showed up next morning. There was 35 people in the room taking the test.
Yeah.
And the person giving the test, I can't remember if they asked a question. Somebody asked a question. But out of 35 people, I was one of 4. They are taking it for the first time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I talked
Okay.
to some guy at lunch. He was on his 3rd or 4th try. And,
Wow.
fortunately, I passed it. But anyway. Anyway, so the question is, can you put it in? Now I can speak more towards patents because I understand copyrights and trademarks, but didn't do much of that.
Okay.
A patent, you have ownership interest in this thing. So you get a patent, the patent belongs to you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get a patent on it, let's say you do a widget, you get a patent on it, you can certainly market that and sell it. You can lease it. You can rent the rights out to it. So it's ownership. And so you can definitely put that into a trust.
Interesting.
So you put into the trust what you own.
Yeah, okay.
So now copyrights are the same thing, and of course all those things, like a patent becomes public domain after 21 years. You know, you once you file it, it's in the patent office, but you have the exclusive rights to it. Nobody can infringe on that patent. But after 21 years, it expires, and then it becomes public domain.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's when you see a lot of generic things that should come out, and they are almost identical, but they can do that after a while.
Yep.
Now, copyrights and trademarks, they're the same things. You have ownership in those. The term of years is longer. Copyright is like 70 years, but
Oh, really?
but you can when you own something, you can do anything you want with it. You can sell it outright. You can lease it for a term of years. You can give somebody the ability to use it. You know, I mean, there's all kind of things that you can do. Just kind of like with land and you know, make the comparison with real estate. Same thing. If you
Well,
own
it kind
real
of
estate,
makes sense to me because it was something that you would own.
Yep. I mean,
Okay.
you can put it in. So
Okay.
I actually am the inventor on 5 patents when I was in nuclear power.
Really?
And it was one of those things they make you do. And,
Yeah.
And these are the kind of things that would make you rich. I mean, nobody else would buy this, do this except the nuclear power industry, right?
All right. Well, let's see who's on the phone. Good morning.
Yes, I did a little research on this, on copyrights, and it's called an intangible asset. I thought he might cover some more intangible assets later, but this is my question. I have a family member, very distant, that her father wrote things that she's going to bring me copies of, and my idea was to let's get this bound together, do something for his church or a Christian university library. But my research showed, and I think I did it on Tennessee, but I may have done it on the other state, that even though the person has a copy, they own it, they might have to register it nationally with the U.S. Copyright in case there's ever a court case or anything. And I was wondering, for somebody to just get the right, as long as her father, he's in his 90s, is alive, he has to sign something to give her the right to even do it because it's a family. I wondered if you could cover that in a way. For example, how would you cover that in a will versus how would you cover that in a trust? Because I believe they've got a trust, and I was wondering if she could put it, thinking it might be relevant for the great-grandkids or something, because, you know, even though it's relatively personal, it might be something you'd want to protect through a trust or a will. I just wanted to throw that out as a discussion.
Okay. All right. All right. There she goes. There she goes.
First of all, tangible versus intangible. If you own a car, it's a tangible asset, personal property. You walk out, put your hand on it, touch it, feel it, it's there, get in it, drive it.
Right.
Intangible is the rights of something.
Yes.
It's not a physical thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So now, as far as the other stuff goes, you know, if you own something, it's inheritable. So if you have the right to use something, you pass away, that doesn't go away. Your estate owns it, or you can say in your testamentary documents, I leave my rights to this somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. You remember the movie A Christmas Story?
Oh, yeah.
You know, well, some years ago, my daughter lived in New York, and she was involved in the stage plays of that. When we were writing for the first time this stage play. It was now a stage play. You know, being in the theater and all that. I mean, you can put that now on. Theater groups can buy the rights for that and put on that show.
Yes.
So when that was going on, the opportunity came for me to invest in the production of it, and I did. So I put some investment in it, and now I own the rights. I own my portion of the rights for the next 40 years from that. Now, technically when they rent that out and stuff like that, you know, they have to pay rights for that, and they pay the producers that contributed to get that working. So.
Oh, how about that?
But I mean, it's an intangible because I can't, you know.
Right.
You know, that's something I own, and at my death, if it's less than 40 years when I pass away and still have it, that is something that is inheritable to my family. So my estate owns it. Just because I'm not here anymore, my ownership doesn't go away.
Okay.
My estate is an extension of my life, but then that, you know, if I say I leave everything to my kids, then that's part of everything, and that's what they'll get, and they'll get it for the rest of the 40 years.
That's interesting. Very interesting.
So, now, she mentioned about it, if it's personal and to protect it, you know, you can write anything you want down, but, you know, it's not protected until you copyright it, if it's that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I mean, if you write it down, if it's a masterpiece and somebody copies it from you, they can get the copyright on it, and you can be, you can be SOL, and you're not even, and
Right.
just because they copyrighted it, you know.
right.
And when it comes to copyright, it's not about fairness; it's all about first in time. And same thing with patent. There was a classic patent case that we studied when I was studying for the patent bar. Two corporations like, I don't know, GM and, IBM and, say, Apple, okay?
Yeah.
And, I'm not sure that those were the parties, but one of them allegedly stole intellectual property,
Sure.
worked on it and patented it. The other one was mad, so, he stole that from us, we were working on it first, and they had a big old court case. And the bottom line was, on the patent end of it, they said, we're not concerned with the person stealing it, and the right of, the different court can handle that as theft of property. Here at the patent office, we're gonna honor the first person to bring it here and get the patent. It doesn't matter how they got here. But you still have a cause of action to go sue the person for stealing your intellectual property in a different court, not in the patent court. I think she worked, it's called the USPTO, stands for United States Patent and Trademark Office, and located in Washington, D.C. And that, you have to protect it. If you don't, and the protection is very specific. I hate to get off on this because it's not too estate planning, but it's the protection of things is very specific and it's misunderstood. So let's take Disney, okay?
Yeah.
Disney is beyond zealous. They're vicious on their patent rights.
Yes.
And they will sue the little old lady if she violates
Yeah.
their rules. And but that doesn't. What does that mean? Does that mean I can't sit down? If I sit down here with a piece of paper and I draw a picture of Mickey Mouse,
Yeah.
is that a protected image? And the answer is not really. A Mickey Mouse is a protected image. Here's what you can't do. Let's say you draw a picture of Mickey Mouse. You don't have to pay any royalties for that because it's your drawing.
Right.
However, let's say you have a little shop and you're selling drawings, and so you draw a couple Mickey Mouse pictures and you stick them in the window and advertise them for sale. Now we're infringing, okay? Because now we're taking the protected image and offering it for profit or gain.
Mm-hmm. So I see. And there's a difference.
Yeah, there is. I mean, I know some people that make cakes have asked me and said, I want to put a picture of, Frozen, the gal in Frozen on this.
Yes.
I have to get permission from. I said, well, he said, well, if you have a cake shop and you put a bunch of cakes on display that show Frozen and show Aladdin and show all these Disney characters that you offer these for sale, yes. But if somebody calls you up and said, private sale and says, hey, will you make a cake for me and put a picture of Frozen on it? No, it's not. You're not infringing anything.
Right, right. That's interesting.
It's a fine line. It's a fine line, but you gotta know where it is. It's not anything and everything.
Many years ago, my wife made specialty cakes just from home. She just was kind of a side job at home and worked for herself and made these birthday cakes. And there were characters, Big Bird,
Sure.
Ninja Turtles, all that. And you could go and buy all these pans. So I'm assuming that they paid the royalties for that. You could buy those pans and those decoratings, all that kind of stuff. So, and then, of course, it was just a little.
I can have like a stencil that's Big Bird image. You
Right.
stick it on the cake and you sprinkle your stuff over it and it goes
Right.
through the holes and you get the picture. That they paid the rights to make that stencil.
Right,
You
exactly.
don't pay the rights when you get it. It's in there.
Yeah, it's
in there. in
built into the cost of the product.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it was an interesting question, but yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting. Very interesting.
When it comes to patent law, a lot of people think, well, I just change one little screw, then I can get a patent on it. And the answer is no. There's some language that says if it's a reasonable change,
Yeah.
it's included in the patent. You don't get a patent for just changing one minute little thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Been a lot of arguments over that stuff.
Yeah. It is.
Wow.
It's kind of a weird area of law. I mean, I enjoyed it, but
Yeah.
I just never had a chance to do much of it.
Fascinating though, really, start thinking about it. People protect their interest in all kinds of ways, which is a lot about what you're about, protecting your interest and protecting your possessions and protecting your family beyond this life.
And those things you're protecting are pretty expensive. Like a patent, it costs you,
Yeah.
pushing $10,000 to get a patent.
Yeah.
It's a long process too.
Yeah. Well, there may be more. Let's see what we've got. Good morning. How are you?
Okay, I don't think I'm in danger of becoming famous or my relative becoming famous, but let's say someone domain. But I was listening to one the other day that said to be careful because it may not be in the public domain in other countries. And so I was wondering if it was probably for someone that really has some, say, music or written something they really think that they want a copyright on, they really need to do it, because once you put it out there, like on the internet, I was thinking Jeff's son, he plays his songs sometimes. Sometimes somebody might get that and run with it and get it copyrighted. And I was also wondering about if you did want to put it in a trust, would you put it in the Asset Protection Trust or the Irrevocable Trust, or both of them, or just something real practical along that line if somebody did decide to get a copyright and put it in a trust?
Okay, all right, we got you.
Starting with the last first, you could put it in either trust, but if it's a copyright is probably something by the very nature of it, I would put it in the Asset Protection Trust. Well, the Asset Protection Trust is an irrevocable trust.
Yes.
She said Asset Protection or the irrevocable. The irrevocable trust is the Asset Protection Trust.
Okay.
That would be a candidate to put in there. I mean, so the other, wasn't sure about the other part, but the public domain, you can protect this thing, but only for a period of time.
Yeah.
The patent gives you the right, the exclusive right to it for like 20 years. And if you get a provisional patent, that's a 1 year you can get in the very beginning, so you can actually protect it for 21 years.
Yeah.
And so after that, I mean, you can, the rights are no longer exclusive. You're giving something up and you're getting something. What you're giving up is disclosure of what it is, because you can pull the drawings from the patent office during that 20 years. You can look at it. You can build your own at home if it's a gizmo thing. But by what you get for giving it all up and disclosing it to the patent office is the exclusive rights for the next 20 years. Now,
Right.
she was saying, like, once you put it out there, I mean, not so. And here's something I don't recommend trying, and I say this kind of sarcastically, but because I know of a very case where it happened. Take a picture of Big Bird and post it on your website. And just sit back and wait. Within 6 months, you'll get a letter from somebody. Because what they do is they have these trolls that do troll websites looking for protected images.
Okay.
Something like that is a protected. There was
So if you used Big Bird or Mickey Mouse or something like that on your commercial website,
that's right.
You'll
get a letter, and they're going to want paid for that.
Yeah. Okay.
Or they want you to remove it immediately, and they want paid for the time it was up.
Interesting.
And you basically can't win that, depending on what the image is.
Yeah.
Because they'll say they're backed by. I've seen a couple letters like that that have these big law firms in New York, and they're backed by them. And I look up the law firms, and they seem pretty legit. So I think they have a valid claim. Now they usually don't ask for too much, but they ask for something. And again, like anything else, you can kind of negotiate it, stuff like that, because they don't know how long it's been up technically.
Yeah.
But again, and I think there's actually like a program or something that can search for that stuff.
Interesting.
Because
I
you
imagine there
couldn't
is.
do it manually. I mean,
I imagine they have that just scouring the internet.
So you
all
gotta
the
be
time.
careful. You gotta be careful. If some images, when you go to like Getty Images or Shutter or those things, those are public domain,
Yeah.
and you can use those all day long.
Yeah.
But again, when you get these old, now songs are a different story. You know, I got something called ASCAP. I mean, the radio knows all about that when they play.
Right.
But if you get these old cassette tapes of songs or these old books that you buy, those have all surpassed their protected time period.
Interesting.
And then public domain means that it's no longer an exclusive asset, an exclusive right to use it as the inventor or the copywriter or the trademark.
Yeah. Very good.
I've forgotten a lot of that, so let's not ask you more questions about that, because I did some of that. I never did any litigation on infringement, although I've seen some people bring infringements to me, to see what we can do about it. And so, anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Very good.
what are the questions you have for today?
Well, gosh, that whole discussion there was kind of interesting, I think. But the bottom line of it is, I mean, your area here is all about protecting your family and your assets if the time ever comes for long-term care and that kind of thing. So to kind of steer us back into that world.
I mean, we talk about our asset protection trust. I mean, it's really a popular trust. When we have my seminars, a lot of people want to engage in that, and it really is a grand tool. because it is a way to protect things if somebody goes into long-term care. But it
Yes.
also has other protections as well. I mean, even if there's no other reason to protect it than that, and you never do go into long-term care, well, at death it works like any other trust and has all that, it passes probate-free and all, complete probate avoidance, just like any other trust. And so it really
Right.
has the best of both worlds with this asset protection trust.
Right.
We do our revocable living trust, and we do that a lot too. It's just that we do that mostly for people in middle life or people that have enough wherewithal that they're not concerned about the cost of long-term care, stuff like that.
Okay.
That's a grand tool too, but when you have that, assets in the revocable living trust are not protected from creditors. And when I say creditors, that confuses people because it's kind of called a creditor protection trust.
Yeah.
It means if somebody sues you or somebody tries to come after you what you own, they can't get to what's in that trust.
Right.
And now a creditor, let's understand what a creditor is. First of all, when you protect something from creditors, it has to be a future creditor. You cannot protect existing creditors. So, I actually got a call like that. I talk a lot about my creditor protection trust, and got
Yeah.
a call from somebody
Okay.
that said they had got sued, had a judgment against them for $200,000, and wanted to know if they could put their stuff in one of these trusts and then not avoid that judgment. And the answer is no. That's
No,
an
it's too
existing-
late.
That is an existing creditor. And you think about it, that's what they call self-serving under law.
Yeah.
If you just put your money in a trust and tell your creditors to go pack sand, I mean, who would ever want to be a creditor, right?
Right.
The economy would collapse.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, whatever we do, we've been a creditor at one point in time trying to collect on something we've done.
Right.
You in the real estate, you do it every day. And so, me too. So, when we talk about creditor protection, it's got to be a future creditor. And that even stretches to, inquiry notice. In other words, if you did something, let's say you did, you're doing your real estate thing and you have to have malpractice insurance for stuff like that. And let's say you did something and it's, oh shoot, I could probably get sued over that if somebody wanted to. That's enough notice that would bar you from, if you said, you know what, I kind of messed up, we'll do one of Mr. Dana's trust and put my house in and stuff like that,
Yeah.
make sure it's okay. That's enough, if push comes to shove, that would be self-serving on your end. That would trigger the fraudulent conveyance act.
Really?
That you have what they call inquiry notice that something could be coming down the pike. It's not coming down the pike, but it could.
Yeah.
But so once we get past that, if it's a future creditor, the stuff in the trust is protected. Now, long-term care for most people, if you're not in care, is a future creditor. I mean, and if it does come up, first of all, it's going to happen in your lifetime, right? And second of all, it's going to be the biggest creditor you probably ever had to deal with. So it's the one everybody's worried about.
Yeah.
So when people come to me and say, they're not interested in other creditors, because I'll tell you, this trust protects you from all creditors. Just that 10 care or long-term care is just a creditor.
Right.
This protects from all creditors, but most people aren't coming from that angle, but it does. So
Yeah.
let's say you do the asset protection trust, you think, you tell me the same thing I hear, where I just don't want the government to get my house, I want
Sure.
to go to my kids, so you put your house in there. 2 weeks later, you're driving around in your sports car and you're going too fast and you crash into somebody and causes damage, right?
Yeah.
Now that person can sue you, right?
Yeah.
And they can only get after what you can get after, and the stuff in the trust is protected assets, so they can't get
Yeah.
after what's in your trust. So
Yeah.
that's a creditor that you're protecting it from if that happens. Not many people come in with that as being the goal.
Sure.
Sometimes I get people that own real estate and they rent it. 4 or 5 pieces of rental homes.
Right.
And they want to put those in the asset protection trust, because when you rent homes, depending on where you rent them, if you rent some in a lesser part of town or something, people worry about, what if
Right.
a drug deal goes wrong at one of my rental homes and somebody gets killed or hurt or
Yeah.
something, I want to be protected against stuff like that. So sometimes you get people that come from that angle, but it protects you from all creditors.
Yeah.
Now, when I say all creditors, it also protects you from long-term care, but the only difference is long-term care is the only creditor that has this magic 5-year time period that people always talk about.
Sure.
So they are a little bit of a slightly, their postures and their status all their own, a class all their own, because
Sure.
of that 5-year rule that we have. But other creditors, immediately. In other words, if it's Friday, if you put the property in trust Friday and Monday you have this accident,
Yeah.
you're protected.
Interesting.
Those creditors don't have the 5-year rule. 10 care is the only one that has a 5-year rule. and of course we have to deal with that, but I talk about it a lot on this show, and most people that listen to me understand what it is, but
Yeah.
that is the only difference between that particular particular creditor, they have their own category.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but
that's good information.
But it's protected, even with 10-care, the property's protected the minute you put it in.
Right.
But the 5-year rule still applies, and the 5-year rule doesn't mean they can or can't come and get the property. What the 5-year rule means says they can impose a penalty on you for giving it away. And what you did was you gave it, or you divested yourself of it when you put it into the trust.
Right.
It changed ownership.
Right.
And so they're gonna say, that's a divestment, and therefore we're gonna punish you for divesting assets that had you kept them,
Yeah.
you could have used them to pay us.
As long as it's in the 5 years.
If you're asking for care within 5 years of the divestment, that's absolutely right.
I'm catching on.
So you are listening.
I'm catching on, yes.
So you're the one.
I'm catching
That
on.
reminds me of an old Robin Williams movie. I think it was called Good Will Hunting.
Oh, yeah.
And
It's a good movie.
The guy comes in, and he's sitting there, the kid. That was
Yeah. Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. Yeah. He said, "I read your book." And Robin Williams says, "Oh, so you're the one."
So you're the one.
I thought that was funny.
That is funny.
Yeah.
That was a good movie.
It was.
It was a good movie.
But anyway, I hope that answered those questions. And we still have an hour and 10 minutes to go.
Oh my gosh.
According to
Only 10 minutes.
According to your clock.
My clock is not right. My clock is not
that
right.
means I don't trust it on the date or the temperature.
No, not at all.
It's right on the date. I know that.
Not at all.
So yeah, I mean, as we're winding down, let me just remind people of the seminar coming up.
Sure.
It's tomorrow.
It is tomorrow.
Hopefully that's not too soon for you, but that works for some people. They say, you know what, plans have changed, and so let's just go to that thing. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Everybody else is.
Yes.
I don't have people get up and walk out. I get people stay and ask questions for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You don't have to stay for that long, but if you have questions, that's one of the things we do. We do the presentation, and right up front, I just ask people to please, if you have a question, like you can bring a question with you in the first place, if you've
Yes.
got a question, and if you develop questions throughout the presentation, you can jot it down.
Yeah.
The only thing I ask is let's wait till the end to ask them, because if you start letting questions into the middle, it's just going to go sideways fast, and I want to stay on topic because that's what people are there to hear. So and everybody's very accommodating for that. But I will stick around and answer questions until I'm the last one there.
Yeah.
And I'll lock up after the last question's been asked, because if you have them, well, don't come to my seminar and leave without your question being answered. Now, maybe it got answered by the presentation and you don't have to ask it.
Yeah.
Or maybe you ask it and get it answered that way. And
Usually, I think, with anybody, most people in a setting like that, when they've listened to something like that's certainly applicable to everybody in one way or another, okay? We end up, thinking of something in our own circumstances that we want to ask specifically about. I think that's probably what happens.
And what I find is somebody asks a question, I can tell by looking at the rest of the people there that a dozen or more of them all had the same question.
Yeah.
It's maybe slightly different circumstances, but the same concept.
Yeah.
Like a question we get all the time is, if you do a trust, what if you've already got a will? What if you already had a will?
Yeah.
And the answer is the will is not going to do anything now. And usually in the trust plan, we write a new will for you, which is that special plural will you heard me talk about,
Right.
which supersedes the old will. So it just kind of does away with it. It's no big deal. Another question I get that the interesting people ask, when they ask that, then they'll say something, well, what should I do with my old will? And I said, well, you can throw it away. You can tear it up, put it through the shredder. And the concept, they'll say, well, it's a legal document. Will I get in trouble if I tear it up? And I get that. I get the concept.
Yeah. You think it makes
Now,
you think.
let me first, before I answer that question, you're definitely going to get in trouble if you tear somebody else's will up.
Yeah. Don't do that.
I mean, you can actually do that with permission, but like a power of attorney or something.
Yeah.
Like that. But it's interesting. Can you take your will if you have a new one, or if you don't want it? You just don't. Let's say you don't have a trust. You just don't want your will anymore. You don't like what it says. You just don't want it. Can you tear it up, shred it, burn it, throw it away, do whatever you want? The answer is yes. And if you don't believe me, you just go to the Tennessee Code.
Yeah.
And there's a statute called revocation of will.
Uh-huh.
Okay. When you read that, it says it can be revoked by you, the testator, or somebody that's acting on your behalf, stuff like that. So
Sure.
when somebody's acting on your behalf, it's technically you acting,
Sure.
even though it's legally.
Right.
And it says, and when they list ways you can revoke a will. Guess what the number one thing at the top of the list is for revoking will?
I'm going to guess destroy it.
Destruction.
Yeah.
The legislature says destruction is the first way they recommend to revoke it. tear it up.
Just-
Because remember I said, and I say this at the seminar, if I had my will with me right now, okay, I don't have one I got to trust, but if I had a will, I'd had it holding it in my hand right now, I could tell, you know, I could tear it up, I could throw it in the trash, I could burn it, I could write on it, I can make a paper airplane, I can do whatever I want with it, because it is a non-operative document. It has no legal significance whatsoever, none whatsoever, until the moment of death.
Yeah.
Then it springs to life, becomes a valid legal document, irrevocable at the time, and that's what the word testament means when you say last will and testament. It means at death. Last will is my statements, my last statements at my death.
Interesting.
And so it's a testamentary instrument. You can do whatever you want. You write a new one, throw the old one away. You can throw the old one away if you just, let's say you're distributing a certain way, and now you decide, you know what, these people got on my bad side. I don't want any of them to get what I put in this will. Tear
Sure.
it up.
Yeah.
And write a new one. I recommend you have something
Sure.
like that, but
You need to have a plan no matter what.
It surprises folks that you can do that, but you sure can. But again, don't destroy somebody else's will.
No.
That could be criminal. I mean, if you know, let's say there's two wills out there. There's one done this year and one done a couple of years later, and you take better under the old one.
Yeah.
Don't go tear up the new one.
And wills are not recorded.
Oh, they get recorded when you open the probate.
When you
They-
open,
they-
but only, yeah, but I'm
they're
saying,
part of the probate process.
but that's after death.
Yes, that's
Yes.
right. You don't ever record it anywhere, but there is a statute that says you can go to your county chancery court, and they will lock it in the safe if you ask them to. They usually have a big old safe in there.
Yeah.
Now I talked to Crystal Green, who's in chancery over in Giles County.
Yeah.
And I asked her, and she said, "Yeah." She said, "Show me." You know, Stan, I know about that statute, but I've never had anybody ask me to do that ever.
Yeah.
She's been there for a good 10 years. You know?
Yeah.
And but she said, "I never had anybody ask me to do that." So, but somebody might. But there's a statute. If you take it down and request them lock it up and hold it for you, they'll put it in there.
How about that? Okay. And most people have more than one copy, I'm sure.
Well, you can have copies of it, but when it comes time to do probate, the original's the only one that can do anything.
It's the only one that
for you,
does
you know.
anything, yeah. Okay.
So,
Very, very good.
so
Yeah.
but again, a seminar tomorrow right here at WLX radio station.
We got about 3 minutes.
Yeah, back in the building. Give us a call if you want to come to it, and if you just feel like you can only just pop in, that's cool. I mean, you're welcome to just pop in. But if you want to call me, give me a head count, that'd be great too. 931-363-7222. That's Pierchoski Estate Law, Pierchoski Elder Law. 363-7222. Or like I said, walk-ins are welcome. And if it's at 10 o'clock, the back of the building. If you go to the front, it'll probably be locked because I think that's mostly on autopilot on weekends. Maybe
It
not,
is.
But I think they keep it locked up. But at the back of the building, there's a couple of double doors. That's where we are.
That's exactly right.
And we're doing another one, April 25th over in Lewis County. I'll talk about that. I mean, Marshall County, Lewisburg. There is a Lewis County. Marshall County, Lewisburg on April the 25th. My next one's in May, and I'm not sure what day that is. But come to this one tomorrow if you want to. Or give me a call at Pierchoski State Law, 363-7222. If you want to talk about anything, you can go to my website, Estate Plan Stand, or you can listen to me on the radio on Sunday nights and WTN.
And you're available too if like a community group or a church group or something like that.
Sure.
Wanting to plan
I get those requests all the time. Talk to church, talk to somebody who want me to come and talk to their employees at a small business.
Yeah.
The sheriff invited me out a couple times to talk to all the people that work at the sheriff's department.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a great idea to do that.
And we offer incentives to people when they do that.
Sure.
So that the employer can
Yeah.
offer their employees something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, good.
Yeah.
Awesome, good. Stan Pierchoski, everybody. We've still got a couple of minutes to go. But again, that seminar, the one tomorrow here, I mean, you probably get a good crowd, but there's plenty of room.
Oh, yeah.
There's plenty of room. So if you haven't made arrangements, make arrangements and get here tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And then the one over in Lewisburg, that's kind of cool to be at the library there.
Yeah,
And it's kind of open to the public.
It is open to the public.
Yeah.
And they are doing something like, throughout the month of May, they're doing certain things for seniors.
Right.
And this is one of them.
Okay.
I mean, the girls did all the planning. I don't know exactly what is involved, but it sounds pretty neat. But yeah.
The Lawrence County Senior Center here would probably entertain the idea of you doing it with
I've done it
sometimes.
at the Giles County Senior Center.
Yeah, it'd be a good idea.
Even some nursing homes, but
It's a very good idea. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
well, it's always a pleasure. And we're
Very
here every
good.
Sunday morning from 8 to 9.
Yeah. Friday morning.
What did I just say?
You said Sunday morning.
It's actually Sunday night from 8 to 9 out of Nashville.
Yes.
We're here every Friday morning from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m.
That's right. I see. Every once in a while, I'll hear you because I listen to WTN quite a bit, and I'll hear your commercial sometimes promoting your program on
Estate
on
plan
Sunday night.
stand.
Sunday nights. That's been a good success for you, hasn't it?
It has, I've been doing it for almost 5 years.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Estate
All right.
plan stand, everybody, check it out. In fact, his office is in Pulaski over there. What's the address over there?
304 West Jefferson Street.
304 West
Just one
Jefferson.
block off the square.
Yep. All right, buddy. Well, good to have you. I'll see you next time. Have a great week, okay?
Always a pleasure.
All right.
This is WDXE.
We don't often have time at the end.
Little off.
We're always